Alright guys, what is going on? Welcome, bro. Novel. It's been a minute since we've actually dived deep into the lore, the history of WoW. This one, the story of old god Yox Yosarji? Yosarji? I think that's how you say it, maybe? I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting watch. Without further ado, let's go.
Hello,
Hey Noble.
everyone.
Great was the Old One, and terrible was his wrath. He consumed hope and begat despair. He inhaled courage and breathed fear.
That's the kind of
Damn.
testimonial that really sticks out. The true subject of that rather grandiose statement is the old god Yashiraj. You may be wondering, what is an
Yashiraj.
old god and why does that name sound oh so sexy? That story, it takes us back in time, to the beginning, in a time before the reign of dragons on Azeroth. Eons before the age of mortal races that would later call it home, a planet had formed around a slumbering world soul in a far corner of the great dark beyond. World souls are a pretty big deal, as when they awaken, they become titans. Titans are an
True.
even bigger deal because these are huge primordial beings imbued with the raw power of creation itself. They roam the cosmos, doing whatever it is that titans do, bringing order to the universe, seeking to waken others of their kinds, who still lay in their slumber, curled up in the shell of planets that had formed around them. On the other side of this domain of order, there resides the Void Lords. As the name suggests, these beings are huge masses of shadow energy, cruel and merciless beyond comprehension,
Uh
and with
huh.
an insatiable hunger to seek and devour all matter within the physical universe. They were envious of the powers wielded by the Titans, so the Void Lords sought to corrupt a slumbering world soul, since corrupting a
Ooh.
fully grown Titan that proved to be impossible. This corrupted Titan, it would allow them to
Damn.
fulfill their dreams, consume it all, and so into the great dark beyond, which is a term used for Warcraft space, the unexplored cosmos that is still out there. They sought out these slumbering world souls. Not an easy task, as like the Titans, the Void Lords had no idea where to look, especially when they were neatly packaged inside of millions of planets. The Void Lords had nothing but envy and malice, and so they
Hmm.
decided that creating dark creatures to do the work
Oh,
for
that's
them,
sick.
and then flinging said creatures wildly into the cosmos, hoping that they would land on a planet harboring a world soul, that was the best choice. These dark creatures are what we call the Old Gods.
Right, we kind of know
Roaming
about
through
them.
the great dark beyond, four of these eldritch horror-esque monstrosities landed on the unlucky world of Azeroth. There was Kafun, yogg-saron, N'Zoth, and Yashiraj. These
Hmm.
four mutants struck lucky, because not only was the planet that they landed on supporting a nascent world soul, it was cradling a world soul far mightier than any of the pantheon of titans had encountered before, rumored to be even
Hmm.
stronger than their champion Sargeras. These hideous amalgamations of fleshy hatreds dug their tendrils deep into the earth, seeking out the very heart of the world soul. Their darkness spread across its surface, the birth of the Black Empire.
Right.
Azeroth's elemental lords were enslaved, while the Akir, the faceless ones, and whatever dark powers
Hey,
emanated from
Magni.
the old gods, it spread further and further across the worlds. Azeroth wasn't doing too well until the old god party going on the planets. It would be discovered by Agrimar, lieutenant of one of the members of the Titan Pantheon Sargeras. The Titan Pantheon, having been informed of the dire plight of a world soul, they arrived on Azeroth to push the old gods back and save not only the worlds, but also the Titan spirit
Damn.
inside. Now, all four of these pretty wicked creatures, they were vile and despicable, but the most powerful of them was Yashiraj. And when the Titans created guardians of Azeroth from the very earth itself, Yashiraj was capable of preying upon the minds of these so-called Titan Force guardians, drawing upon their fears and
Rule
darkening their
6 cinematic.
thoughts. It wasn't just Yashiraj's power that was formidable, however. His appearance was also pretty intimidating. Yashiraj was immense in size and was also
Okay, so I'm guessing all of this happened. I'm guessing Shadowlands. I'm guessing.
sometimes known as the Beast with Seven Heads or the Seven-Headed One. Now, none of the artwork that we have
Bro, just
shows
how
him
many
having
times was
seven
Stormwind
heads,
destroyed?
but it does show us a snake-like scale body with a massive head, goat horns, and seven yellow eyes glaring out above a dragon-like maw. The Titans set their sights on the huge temple city built around the immense bulk of Yasharaj. They had it in their mind that destroying the huge stronghold, it would destroy their enemies in one swift stroke. The Titans
Damn.
were mighty enough to just rip out the old gods and be done with it, but they were afraid that using their phenomenal cosmic powers, that it would deal too much damage to Azeroth itself. That's why they created these Titan Forged, and when the battle
Right.
against Yashirash played out, they feared that the old god would overwhelm their servants. Despite the better judgments, the Titans knew that they had to take action. Amanful, High Father of the Pantheon, reached down through Azeroth's skies and took hold of the writhing body of Yashiraj. With a giant heave of his arm, Yashiraj was ripped from the crust of the world, his gargantuan body ripped apart. His death cries shattered mountaintops and obliterated hundreds of the Titan forts where they stood. It is also claimed that as his remains fell to the ground, Yashiraj's final dying breath manifested as the 7 prime Shas, the Shah of anger, hatred,
Ah.
violence, fear, doubt, despair,
Like he split his soul.
pride. That's where potentially that description of the beast with 7 heads might have come from. Now, this was not the only consequence of evolving Yashiraj from the world, however. The old god's tendrils had worked their way down far deeper than the High Father had ever expected, and ripping Yashiraj out of Azeroth, it caused an eternal wound on the planet's surface. Through this wound, volatile arcane energies, the lifeblood of the young world soul, erupted and roiled across the land. The Titans, along with their Titan Keepers, they worked around the clock to seal the wound that Yashiraj had left behind, and it would eventually become known as the Well of Eternity.
Right.
They knew that they could not risk tearing out the other old gods in the same way that they had torn out Yashiraj from the world, and instead they decided to imprison them. They also realized that Azeroth would need fortifying if it was ever to have a chance at waking up, and so they installed 2 machines to imbue the slumbering world soul with cosmic energies. The Forge of Wills was installed in an area known as the Storm Peaks, and Haikipara led an expedition to install the Forge of Origination within the south. As he traveled there, Ra came across the remnants of Yashiraj, those pieces that had fallen back to the land that we now know as Pandaria. These pieces had corrupted the land around them. The
Oh.
largest remnant was the icy heart of Yashiraj, a mass of diseased flesh seething with void energies. Even in death, Yashiraj was proven to be a fierce opponent. Era decided to seal the heart away in an underground vault, which is called the Vault of Yashiraj. High Keeper Ra was wise to think that the remains of an old god would attract some attention, as Akir they'd already been gathering near the prisons of the imprisoned masters. They were also being attracted to the location of the heart. As a little bit of background information, the Akir, they're an insectoid race which had joined the old god's party on Azeroth, having been formed from the organic matter seeping from the old god's monstrous bodies. The Akir in the north, they gathered around the underground prison of yogg-saron.
Bro, these
and
are like
become
giant
known as
ants.
the Nerubians. The Akir in the southwest, they gathered around the prison of Kafun, became known as the Karaji, and the final group in the southeastern parts of the world. They gathered around the vile essence of Yashiraj, which still polluted the land, eventually becoming the Mantids. The Mantids had
The
found themselves
Mantids.
drawn to the valley around the vault, unaware that they were drawn to the lingering essence of the old
Huh.
god, and unaware that his heart was locked beneath the land.
Yeah, I'm guessing all
There
this
were
happened in
Fnatic
like
and Mogu
Shadowlands.
guardians standing watch over the vaults, but they were ultimately pushed back. Now, the Cluxy, they did not consider
Or
this
Legion.
defeat as a failure. The surviving Mantid warriors, they have matured. They grow more powerful and cunning. The Cluxy patiently waited 100 years before assaulting the Mogu again. They dispatched a new generation of young Mantids to besiege the Titan Forge. Once again, the survivors returned stronger, and thus began the Mantid cycle. Every century, a new Mantid clutch made war upon the Mogu. The ferocious battles, it removed the weak from the swarm, and only the strongest returned.
Holy.
With only a few cycles, Mantid civilization had become tightly honed and rigid,
Damn.
utterly focused on eradicating weakness and empowering the mightiest of their kinds. The Mogu marked the change with concern. They launched their own attack to eradicate this Mantid threat, and they might have even
What,
succeeded.
spinning kick?
Were it
Oh.
not for one single Mantid, Corvin, who eviscerated the Mogu ranks and sent them into retreat. But the honored warrior was still not satisfied. He knew that it was only chance that he arose in his race's greatest hour of need, and he did not want to leave the mented defenses to chance alone. After years of experimentation, they eventually figured out a way to preserve these so-called paragons of their race, preserve them within amber, stored away to be released whenever the need was dire.
You have earned this warning. If the Old Ones ever return, we Manted will once again stand by their side.
We're going to fast forward a lot of years now to the time of Mr. Pandaria. This is a time where the Alliance and Horde rediscovered the land, bringing their war and their many emotions with them. The curse of Yasharash, the Shah, that had become somewhat under control, since the Pandaren and the land, they'd learned to control their emotions, contain their enemy. Our arrival, it kicked up a storm, it fed the Shah, and it caused a whole bunch of trouble. Trouble like the Empress of the Mented, Grand Emperor Jexir, taken over by the Shah fear, disrupting their ancient cycle and corrupting their race. We're able to join them in awakening the Paragons in their hour of need, learn more about this ancient race, and even end up ending their queen. However, that doesn't make them our loyal allies. Then War Chief Garrosh, those people search Pandaria for new troops, artifacts, and power. Imagine everyone's surprise when they actually found their way to the vault of Yasharash.
Oh, thank the laws of physics you're here. We found something down there. Something huge. And all of a sudden the rocks started fighting back and everyone went crazy. It's bad business.
Ah.
Please, just make it all stop.
Garrosh had sent a group of goblins, led by Grizzle Gearslip, to excavate the vault
Grizzle
and see what lay
Gearslip?
inside. What the goblins discovered was something beyond the war chief's wildest dreams, the heart of Yasharash. Grizzle was thrown aside by Hellscream's personal bodyguards, a giant oaf called Malkorok, who immediately claimed it for the war chief. Now Garrosh having any kind of artifact, that was bad news all around. But when it comes to Garrosh having the heart of Yasharash, well, that's bordering on apocalyptic.
It thirsts. Bring it to the pools. You Pandaren tried to bury your hate and your anger. But such power cannot be contained. It must be unleashed.
Damn.
Time will come when you will answer for your crimes. I answer to no one!
Damn.
He wasted no time in reviving it by using the magical pools in the Veil of Eternal Blossoms. And then he took it into his inner sanctum within Orgrimmar's underhold.
Wait, because
Come,
to my understanding, the only reason that Garrosh did that was it to actually consume the power of the old gods? I believe it was.
children of the Titans, you face the Paragons.
As the Mented promised us, they would always stand with the old god. And this had quite a lot of people wonder why they were against the Shah taking over the queen. Isn't the Shah just an extension from Yasharash? But I guess to the Mented, they didn't recognize its curse as their true old god. The heart, empowered by the sacred waters of the Veil in the hands of Garrosh, that was a different story. That makes them allies to the war chief, meaning that they stand between us and confronting Hellscream ourselves. We take our former allies on and fight through the siege of Orgrimmar, where Garrosh awaits.
Anger, hatred, fear. They are weapons of war. The tools of a war chief.
Here it is, bro.
Yes.
He got himself a world
Yes,
buff.
I can see it now. I can see the future of this world. A world ruled by the Horde. My Horde. The heart will be your end. You will rest in Nyalotha.
Having tossed aside Gorhal, the weapon of his father and his clan, in favor of Zalatov, desecrated image of Gorhal, he and the old gods, they've had quite a bit of bonding time, viewing visions of the future, handing out shiny new weapons, empowering the war chief, which made him quite a challenge to deal with.
The true horde will come to pass. I have seen it. It has shown me. I have seen mountains of skulls and rivers of blood, and I will have my world!
Nearing its peak,
Damn.
Garrosh will absorb all of the heart's power in a last-ditch effort, dragging us into the vision of the future that he wants to make a reality.
Behold my glorious destiny!
With Garrosh's defeat, the last powers of the heart
Bro,
would
Garrosh
fade,
was really
leaving
him.
only a fading breath behind, which would also gradually decay into nothingness. Yasharash, the seven-headed beast, it was finally vanquished. The first old god to truly be dead and gone, by first being ripped out of the world by the Titans, then its heart being locked away, and then fully consumed.
Hmm.
At least that's what we thought back then. Later on in an interview, they have stated that old gods like Kafun and yogg-saron, they're apparently also gone, and with Battle for Azeroth, the final old god N'Zoth has also been cleansed of the world.
Ah.
Old gods, however, they're powerful, capable of great and terrible things. So it might come as no surprise that Yasharash simply relocated, appearing in Hearthstone with the Whispers of the Old Gods expansion. The news post describing Yasharash's arrival within the game, it's joyfully chock-a-block with Easter eggs from its Warcraft days, including a mention of his fury, of his remains being panda-handled by scruffy little mortals, and mentioning how his last terrible breath, which you might remember spawned the 7 prime shards within Warcraft, is capable of clearing whole continents. The Darkmoon Fair expansion, it also has in Party Hard as Yasharash the Defiler. We can only wonder if the old gods will ever make a return in the story of Warcraft. We might have cleansed the planets of the old god infection, but there are more planets out there, potentially still infected. There's also still the Void Lords to consider, the
Bro,
source
this god
behind
got beaten so bad that he had to go to another whole game.
them, the
Damn.
ones that send these old gods out. They're still out there somewhere, and time is going to tell if and when they'll make an appearance.
Good job, Nobbel.
But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Really hope you enjoyed the story of Yasharash. Subscribe
It was
if
a
you
good
like the
story.
videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time. See ya.
See you, Nobbel. Wow. Bro, these gods are such a pain. I mean, of course, I knew before. I mean, the last time I watched Nobbel, you just simply can't. One does not just simply remove an old god, from a slumbering titan. But damn, man. Like they just leave, like they're just walking, just plagues and diseases, just leaving behind these shadows and shades that just manifest into these creatures, causing just as much chaos. Mm, damn. Damn, guys, that was sick. If you guys enjoyed this, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next one. Take care.